To pee or not to pee? That is the question. I could not refuse to use my very first Shakespearean pun on this show, but for those of you who are still confused, the P right here stands for performance when it comes to Tesla badging. I know they're moving away from that, but a lot of people love the P100D, P90D, or whatever. It does stand for performance. And today we're going to talk about, well, do you really need it? I've been through 3 Teslas in my life over 6 years, and I have not a single time wanted a performance version of any of my cars, but I know so many people who would just not even get a Tesla unless it has a performance version, and one of those people are here to talk to me about it. Eli Burton of My Tesla Adventure is here for his weekly scheduled episode of Supercharged with Eli Burton, and he's going to tell us all about it, what it is, what does it include, because that varies year from year and so forth, and why he absolutely loves the performance package. And of course, you guys should jump in as well and let us know why you chose to have or not to have, or to pee or not to pee with your Tesla. All of this is coming up next.
Taking over the world, electrifying the world, E4 Electric!
Welcome to E4 Electric, your number one source of unbiased electric car news. If this is your first time here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button down there so you don't miss anything moving forward. Of course, it's in the red color because that button is also has a performance package. So did you know that? No. All right. So now, just like I mentioned before that, I'm not a guy who likes to race on a track or race other people on the road. And as a matter of fact, from the very beginning, all of my cars, so I had an 85 regular, I had a 70D, and I had a 60. And all of them were actually faster than I ever needed them. I have a Volt right now, and even if I put that little sucker in a performance sports package with sports mode, it pretty much beats all other cars, with all the little or a lot of torque that it has. But a lot of people absolutely love the performance package, and it's amazing. I mean, as far as technology, obviously electric car technology is a big deal when it comes to any type of performance, and we see more and more electric cars, sports electric cars, hypercars, and so forth, just absolutely kicking gas cars' butt. We were just at the Sonoma Raceway racing. He was racing a bunch of people there, and people are really giving a lot of props to Teslas and electric cars. So before I bring Eli in, let me remind you that this video and this channel is sponsored by Byton. Check out their all-electric SUV coming to the US and Europe. Look at how fast it is to reserve one, mainly because there is no payment form. That's right. It's absolutely free to reserve your Byton. Over 50,000 of us have done so. So look, about 30 seconds. Go to the description of this video so you can reserve your Byton today. All right. So without further ado, let me bring Eli to the show. Eli, how are you doing, my friend?
Alex, it's great to be back on.
Listen, I'm excited to have you because I actually don't know much about the performance package except for I never really needed that much power. So you just bought your second Tesla, which is a Raven version of Tesla Model S, Performance Ludicrous Plus and all of that good stuff. But tell us a little bit about what performance package is, how they're different between different, models, 3S, and I think X even has one, not sure why, but and why you specifically like that package.
Well, I need to pee. I mean, I needed the pee.
Absolutely.
Okay, so kind of talking about the package and what it does. So by going to the performance package, there's a couple key characteristic differences, especially on the Model S and X. So on Model S and X, going to the performance package includes a larger rear motor, because that's where a lot of the difference in acceleration comes, is the rear motor. It also comes with special software that allows ludicrous mode. And it also comes with a bigger fuse, effectively, that can allow the battery to release more power that gets to the motors to help you get that top end acceleration. So those are kind of the key hardware differences. The other thing as well is Tesla used to have a variety of different battery pack options, like the 7, the 100D, and the Performance. The Performance model always has the largest battery pack that Tesla has available. Now for Model S and X, it's just long range and performance, and they both have the 100 kilowatt batteries, so that's not a difference anymore. But in the past, the Performance always had the largest battery on the market.
All right, and also I remember that they also had, I think, red calipers. I think, and I think this is the picture I just took literally recently with somebody who has them. Is that what are the other sort of visual differences that they have? I mean, I absolutely love the red caliper covers. What else?
That's correct. So the performance cars all have red calipers. They come with red calipers, and they come with the carbon fiber spoiler. So the car gets, so exteriorly, they get the spoiler, they get the covers. And then one of the other things that changes too is the badging. So on the new cars, the performance cars with Ludacris just say dual motor and have the red underline. And they're doing that on the Model 3 S and X. Now, that's a newer move that they've made, and myself and other buyers who are getting the S and X now, if it does come with the dual motor underline thing, we're replacing it with the standard badge everyone's used to seeing. That's what you got right up there on the screen right now. The P100D, so it stands for the 100 kilowatt battery, performance, D is all-wheel drive, and then the line underneath indicates that the car has Ludacris. And the reason for that is in the past and at different times, you used to be able to buy the performance car and not pay the money for Ludacris. Even as recently as when I ordered my car, Ludacris was an additional add-on that you could choose not to have. So that kind of gives you kind of some context to the badging and kind of the history of it.
All right, so but now let's talk about the actual performance of the performance package. Now you went from, what is it, 75D regular, right, to this baby, which I have yet to be inside of as far as when you're launching, because I know I will actually get sick and nauseous and have all kinds of old man symptoms because it's insanely fast. So let's talk about 0 to 60 acceleration, and then let's compare Model S to, let's say, Model 3, and then tell us what else you're enjoying in this car, and why you would never go back.
So one of the features that you get with Model S and X on performance, now this doesn't come with 3, but this is one of the cool features of S and X, is it comes with a mode called launch control. And what launch control does is it allows you to actually press down the brake and the accelerator. And it does this thing where it kind of like pre-turns the motors. I don't know if I'm getting the right terminology on this, but what happens is once you let off the brake and you've got your accelerators all the way down, the car immediately is releasing max power for ultimate acceleration. It even heats up the battery to optimum temperature for maximum torque. What that turns into is it's rated at a 0 to 60 on the Model S of 2.4 seconds. The Model X, even with how much bigger and heavier it is, it will still do a 2.7 second 0 to 60. And again, that's what it's rated at. I've had the fastest 0 to 60 time I've done at max battery, heated it up with launch control activated. The fastest 0 to 60 I've done is 2.26 seconds.
Wow, I did not realize that. That is insane. I remember I got a P90D, and as a loaner, I remember when one of the times I had to termine it for a few days, and it had a ludicrous mode, and I remember knowing that it's going to launch really quick, and still being very shocked how ridiculously forceful it was. And I remember the last time I did it, I literally was sick for the rest of the day, and I can't believe, I think you had one of your grandmother or your grandfather actually do that in the car.
Yeah, my 96-year-old grandma I took out in my car. Yeah, she loved it, by the way. And I got to tell you, when you go from even 2.8 to 2.4 to 2.2, it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you're talking about at that level acceleration, even the difference of 1/10 of a second, you really feel. And I would say the difference between a 2.28 or 2.8 seconds 0 to 60 and a 2.26 or 2.3, it's violent. That's actually the reaction for most of the people I've taken out that are in the passenger seat is wow.
And by taken out, you don't mean killed
violent.
with this, with this ridiculous. I mean, like, okay. So now let's talk about something else. Do you really? Okay, so I know you take your car on a racetrack once in a while, and I understand it's fun. But you do it once a month, maybe once in a couple of months. But do you really need that? See, my thing is, like, I just never thought that I would ever need this, because even my slow regular 70D, let's say, was so fast. It was too fast. I mean, I could beat even motorcycles off the line if I wanted to. What is the benefit of having that much power on the regular road?
Aside from endless smiles for you and your passengers who don't have queasy stomachs, some of the cool effects that you have when you can take off from the line that quickly is, especially when you get to a stoplight or a stop sign and you got a bunch of other traffic and it gets your turn to go, you can take off and without even going past the speed limit, you just get off the line so quickly that you wind up with the road to yourself in between stoplights and in between intersections. I love that. I love looking in my rearview mirror and looking around me and there's no car in sight because I've got the car alone until I catch the next red light. So
I never
that's
thought
a lot
about that way. Huh.
Yeah, and like it's something I've wanted to make a video about. How one of the things with the Tesla acceleration and experience, and that you can do it without getting a ticket for exhibition of speed because our tires aren't spinning and you're not hearing this loud muffler sound, that it really does. Like driving a Tesla kind of gives you this added open road experience. The other place where it actually I find true value is when you're navigating merging onto the freeway in traffic or dealing with places in cities that often your opportunity to like grab a space is very limited. And you have a lot more opportunities for how you merge in these situations when you have torque and acceleration on your side. So normally when you get on the freeway in a regular car, in an ICE car, you've kind of got to be looking at who's coming and like who you're going to sneak in behind. When I'm merging onto the freeway, all I got to do is look for space in front of me and I will get there before anyone else can catch up. So if I see a space like in a lane where I'm going or 2 lanes over and I look and there's nobody in my line of sight between where I'm at and where I'm going, I can get there faster than anybody could possibly catch me if we put our pedal down at the same time. So it allows me to make much less stressful merges because I have to pay attention to much less information due to the impact and road control I get due to my speed and acceleration.
Now, I have to admit that originally when I saw people, taking off really quick in Teslas and everything, I really was kind of not really cool with that. I thought that showing off like this wasn't really a good thing for us in our community. But then I kind of changed my opinion. And I think this is actually what I'm really proud of. I do change my opinions when I get more information or things change. And I realize that a lot of people who we need to convince that electric cars the future are the gearheads who really only understand one language, right? And if we can beat them in their own language, and even though I'm not really that much behind that, without endangering obviously anybody, that turns their heads. And that, we were just at the Sonoma Raceway, right? And remember, we were talking to a few Tesla owners who've been coming there for a while, and they said that in the last couple of years, they noticed that they went from people really hating on them and just really kind of dismissing them to even I saw that people were coming out, all these muscle car guys with beards you never thought would come out and check out a Tesla, an electric car, and say, you know what, I'm thinking about getting one. So, I think that's not that bad to showcase essentially this technology, which is so much power.
Yeah, and there was one of the things, I got a question actually at the drag strip day that by somebody and said, is that much speed really necessary? The short answer is, if you ask it on itself, no. However, if you're going to convince people and convince car people to go from gas to electric, they've got to get something that is so superior in performance to what they can get from the same money in a gas car that it was necessary. It was necessary for this 4-door sedan to beat these super high performance sports cars, to convince people, to force people to pay attention to it. And, when a lot of these muscle car guys coming over covered in grease or, jacking up their engines and making all these modifications come over, and I'm telling them the quarter mile time and the 0 to 60 time on this performance car, and then I'm telling them what the price is, their jaw dropped. I had a guy recently that pulled up behind me. He was in a BMW, one of their more performance cars. And I could tell he wanted to see what I could do. So I took off hard from the line. He came up to me, caught up with me at the next stoplight and rolled down his window. And he's like, I knew it was going to be fast. I didn't expect it was going to be that fast. And then we sat there talking about our cars for a couple minutes. And he actually came out to the drag strip to kind of see what we were doing last event. But you're absolutely right. This speed, even if it's not necessarily useful for everybody and makes some people sick, it is helping sell electric cars.
I absolutely agree. I just did a video on Jay Leno, who went on CNBC promoting his Jay Leno Garage, and he was talking about how when you come up with a new technology, it can't just be just as good as the old technology, it has to be better. And the thing is, this technology is obviously, just because what the electric motors really are, it's just better by its nature in the category where all the gearheads are really, really trying to hold on to, and now have to concede that, hey, this is something that is just better. I loved seeing these guys coming out to you and our community there at the Sonoma Raceway. Let me ask you another question. So now I know some people like you prefer a Tesla Model S with a performance package, but there's a lot of people who have just as much money. Let me put it this way: that the price is not really an option. They still prefer Tesla Model 3 performance over Tesla Model S performance. That one, why don't you? A lot of people are a little bit confused by that. Why don't you explain to me why some choose one or the other?
So yeah, the Tesla Model 3, especially the Tesla Model 3 performance, has been very popular. And I've seen it popular by people that price actually isn't part of the concern at all. And I think it's that they're looking for a bit smaller vehicle. This vehicle is great, especially if you're just doing some simple commuting driving, if you're going to be dealing with places that have tight parking, if you're going to be dealing with inner cities. Some people like the smaller car, and the performance on the Performance Model 3. You get a good 3.2 seconds 0 to 60. There's been some of my tests even went lower. I got some 3.1s. Brooks at Drag Times did a just over 3.0 0 to 60. So you still get a great 0 to 60, good performance sports car like 0 to 60, but it's not quite as completely destroying you in the passenger seat or the driver's seat. And another thing too is the handling of the car. It's a much lighter weight car, and it handles like one. So for some people, that can be a lot more fun car to drive. And they're fine with paying $80,000 for a car and don't need to spend the extra $20,000 for a Model S or an extra $25,000, $30,000 for a Model X to get that same performance.
Now, Model 3 does not have the Ludicrous or Ludicrous Plus modes, correct?
It doesn't have Ludicrous Plus. It does have track mode, and that's something that for a lot of people is compelling. If you want to go and race your car on the track, right now, Model 3 performance is your way to go because the car is lighter weight, and they've designed it better for it's got this special regenerative braking that'll add on the track, which means that it actually ups the amount of force regenerative braking will put in, causing you to have to use less power or less of your brakes. It's also got bigger brakes, it's got performance brakes designed for racing. And the Model 3, due to a combination of things, but including its less weight, it's better able to do thermal management, which means your car is not going to overheat. So one of the problems I had with the older S and X is after a lap or so, or a lap or two, you get put into slug mode because the battery's got to cool down. Now it's rumored that this new Raven refresh Model S is going to be able to handle it better, and a track mode is coming. Unknown if that's true or when that's coming, but right now, if you're going to be somebody who wants to take your car on the track, you want to race, Model 3 Performance is the way to go. And Model 3 Performance is out there crushing it. I mean, it's competing heads up with, I think, what is it? BMW M3, I think, is their main racing car. Correct me if I'm wrong on the thing. Model 3 is a track competitor with that car.
Now, we like talking about the future also. We just did a video on the 2025 Model 3, and I think a lot of people kind of got a kick out of that, and it's still on my channel, obviously, from a week ago. But, where do you see this performance package go? Because, I mean, just from perspective of physics, I mean, you can't lower the 2.3 0 to 60 that much more, especially on a four-door sedan, small or big. And so where do you think this is going to go? And do you think the performance package is going to have other features that may not necessarily be all about the actual force of a launch, but about other things that performance could actually mean?
I think long-term, we're going to see something continue that happened with the Raven Model S. And that's one of the biggest difference I've noticed in performance with this Raven refresh is there was a slight increase in 0 to 60 time, but where I really noticed a difference and where it's really affecting quarter mile time, and why I was able to do that 10.5 quarter mile, is its ability to continue accelerating at the top end is improving. And I think long-term, what we're going to see with the performance is we may see 0 to 60 time remain the same, but 0 to 100 time, I think, is going to get a lot better. Or the 0 to 130 is going to get a lot better. So as they improve battery technology, as they're able to more densely store energy, as they're able to put more amps out of this battery without doing as much damage, I think we're going to see the total acceleration time up to higher speeds increase, which means the quarter mile time is going to continue to decrease. You're absolutely right. We're running up against laws of physics here when we're trying to move a vehicle off the ground at a certain weight of how well can this thing grip and still take off. And I don't see beyond lower than a 2.2 0 to 60 on the Model S, because they need to leave room for the next gen Roadster, which is going to sell at 200 to 250,000, to be a sizable jump. So I don't see much lower than a 2.2 because of that and because of the weight limitations. But I do see the ultimate quarter mile times continuing to come down. I see in the future a 10-second Model S performance on a quarter mile.
I know I'm one of the reservation holders automatically because I have a significant percentage off of the Roadster. I am
That's right. Yeah,
absolutely scared to own that car, and we'll see. Maybe I'm just gonna have you drive me around in it because or just you drive it. I'm not even sure if I can.
I
be
think
inside
the
of it.
world cannot wait for the first time Alex puts his next gen Roadster into maximum plaid, fastest mode, activates launch control, and then blacks out in the launch.
Exactly. Well, so that brings me to another thing that I want to mention now. The technology, the performance technology of electric cars is not just within Tesla. We've seen quite a few other manufacturers to actually create electric cars, and one of them is Rimac. This is a Concept 2. They already had a C1, which was a success. It's a company that's continuing to make this amazing sports car. I'm actually going to get to see it next weekend in the Monterey Car Week. If you go in there, I strongly recommend. Also, Pininfarina is just about to release theirs. Also, amazing torque and all amazing specs, and there are a couple of others coming up. Do you see overall the sports car world? And by the way, we're forgetting about the Volkswagen IDR as well, setting all kinds of records, including the Twin Peak record. Do you see this technology overtaking the entire industry, where Ferraris and Lamborghinis and Bugattis have no choice but to go electric, not for the tree huggers and the environment, but for the performance?
I mean, electric is way past the tree hugger thing now, right? We left that. The tree hugger was when there was just the Prius and people were buying ugly cars because they were electric. We're past the tree hugger thing now. Yes, I think for two reasons. I think one, to get the performance, they're going to have to be competitive, because what you can do with electric just outdoes what you can do with combustion. And two, I think as millennials continue to get older and gain more wealth, and they start to become a substantial share of the new money, I think you're going to have a hard time convincing these folks to buy Ferraris and buy some of these old brands. I especially think Ferrari is in big trouble. I think the games that they play with their brand and the way they can try to control what their owners do. I mean, Ferrari even will limit if you put a wrap on your car or paint your car a color they don't like, they'll refuse to sell you future versions. I've kind of learned a little bit more about how Ferrari does things recently, and I think they're in trouble. But yeah, no, I think long term the Lamborghini and the Ferrari is the status symbol. If they're going to have a chance of holding on to that, they're going to have to jump onto electric. And who knows, maybe they will stay with gas and they will serve their market as that and be kind of a novelty because nobody's making combustion cars anymore. But I see even them are going to have to be forced to adapt.
I am looking forward to the Monterey Car Week because it's going to be full of exotic cars and Lamborghinis and Ferraris and so forth. And this is my third year in a row, and I see more and more acceptance of electric cars. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, it's definitely an amazing universe we're living in right now, a great time. So thanks for sharing all of this with us. And I think a lot of people have kind of lost track of all of this performance, non-performance, deal model. So I think we set the record straight. Tell us about what's next on your podcast that I know you do every week.
I think before we get into my podcast, I think something we should do for your followers is we should take you out for one launch in my new car, and we'll put it on your Instagram. So if anybody who watches you on YouTube wants to see Alex go through some torture, you can put that on your Instagram. I think that's a really compelling reason to go follow you.
The only thing that's going to happen is that I probably won't be able to do my daily news videos because I'll be probably somewhere in a hospital trying to, get my brain scraped from the back of my skull. But I'm open to it. I am open to it. So maybe one of these days when I have some vacation
at the end of the day,
planned,
I'll get you to the hospital in like 2 minutes. It'll be fine.
Yeah. We just have to find a hospital with a nice parking lot where there's enough space for us to do that, and you can just launch right into the emergency room so everybody wins. I love that. All right.
That'll be a perfect way to end this segment.
Yes. But let's end it with you telling us what to expect on your next podcast.
Sure. On our next podcast, one of the things we're going to get into is diving into what Tesla has done recently with returning free supercharging, why we think they're doing that and what's that about, and where we see some of these things going over the next 6 months to a year with Tesla's future, especially as they're making active progress and nearing the completion of Gigafactory Shanghai.
I can't wait to hear that one because I just did a video about, you know, how Elon said it was absolutely not sustainable, but we're doing it anyway. So I'm looking forward to that. All right, of course, there's a link to my Tesla adventure, which anybody who lives in California or somewhere nearby should definitely join. All right, man, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, and I will be talking to you next week.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Alex.
All right, guys, as always, thanks to Eli for making time to hang out with us. And I got to tell you, before we did this segment, I was kind of like, you know, I do need you to tell me all of this little nuances about the P, because I've never got into the performance. I've never, you know, just like I said, I never had that much interest or need for it myself. And I know Eli's been getting into his P100D. And by the way, the slide that I've been showing it is actually of his car right here. So it's definitely, and you know, for those of you guys who are thinking about a next Tesla or the very first Tesla, this is definitely something to be aware of, because this is important, because you might just like it or love your next Tesla. And of course, this is probably going to be translating into, you know, other cars in the future. I'm actually surprised we haven't seen performance versions really yet. Porsche Taycan is probably going to be one of the first cars who will have that kind of a upper performance version, and we'll see how that's going to go. But I'm definitely excited. I mean, this is a great time to live in. And before we talk about anything else, let's talk about our FIDA YouTuber program, where you can contribute just $5 a month and provide this YouTuber right here in this picture with shelter, water, and press passes to Monterey Car Week, by the way, and maybe even the Frankfurt Auto Show. I'm maybe saying too much, but we'll see what happens there. And by the way, thank you to one of my newer Patreons, William Turner, for becoming one of the Patreons. And by the way, you do get to watch me live and comment, and we have a bunch of conversations here on Patreon. So thank you to William for joining me there. But if your wallet is absolutely empty, but you're saying, I gotta get something out of Alex, well, you are in luck, that because besides the free Byton reservation, you also can sign up for a free VIP list where we get you a absolutely bonus article that we just cannot fit into everything that we do here on the channel and on e4electric.com website. So you can sign up for free at e4electric.com/VIP and enjoy that every Saturday. All right, let us know about your performance or non-performance Tesla that you have or thinking about in the comment section. Other than that, see you next time, and remember to stay charged.